the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
He's got so many titles that I don't know which one to call him by, but we'll just go with Governor Ventura. Jesse the Mind Ventura with us for the rest of the hour. This book is titled Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. I think it's a wonderful title, and it's in stores everywhere today. He's just launching his tour yesterday. We're honored to have him. But you could also call it the Adventures of Jesse Ventura, because it is quite a page turner, because you've had quite a full life. Why did you decide to write this particular style of book?
Well, first of all, Alex, I want to explain, I had 2 New York Times bestsellers before this book, and of course, they gave me huge front money to write that book, and it was interesting. I'll give you a little inside info. This book, we wrote it down in Mexico. We brought the full transcript back, Dick Russell and I. We were turned down by 24 publishers. And I already had 2 New York Times bestsellers. I found that pretty interesting.
Are you breaking that here? Because I did quite a bit of research for this interview, and I hadn't seen that.
Am I what out there?
No, I mean, is this the first time you've told this story?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, please.
We got turned down by 24, and finally Skyhorse, which is a small publishing company in New York, picked it up. But the good thing is we're with Norton Distribution, which is a huge distributor, and that's the key is once you get published, then you need to get it to a good distributor, and they're one of the biggest, so it'll be everywhere. But, I wrote this book. I didn't take any big front money because I truly wanted this book out there. I didn't care about the money on this book. I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to tell about the things that happened when I was in office, because, Alex, I don't know if certainly you read the book, so you know this. MSNBC, in essence, censored me. Because when I came out of office, I was the hottest commodity out there. I was the voice of the independent. The CNN wanted me, MSNBC wanted me, Fox News wanted me. I signed with MSNBC, and then essentially they wouldn't even put me on the air, and my contract stated that I couldn't do any news shows or I couldn't do any cable or satellite. And so I believe I was silenced on purpose.
Well, let's stop right there, Governor Ventura. This is all amazing bombshells that you're dropping on us. First, you've had 2 super New York Times bestsellers.
Right.
You've been the dark horse candidate of the people in Minnesota. You spurred Schwarzenegger to run and caused that whole phenomenon, and he's basically admitted it, seeing you have success. He went for it. You have this amazing history, Hollywood star, and you went to 20-plus publishers, and they said no, and you went to a new publisher that just fired up, in 2007, according to what I was reading on their site. I mean, that is a story of censorship alone and their fear of your message. But now we're learning, and yes, you do mention in the book, and of course, get into it, but there's so much of the book I'd forgotten about that MSNBC literally muzzled you and used that contract to block you from going anywhere else.
Exactly. They wouldn't put me on the air, and the reason for it was because I was opposed to the Iraq War before it started. If you think back, do you remember when Phil Donahue had that short-lived show on MSNBC?
They kicked him off. Yeah.
Well, Phil was the highest-rated show they had. Have you ever, Alex, heard of a network pulling its highest-rated show?
It's suicide.
Well, you don't do that, and yet they did it. They pulled Phil, and then they wouldn't allow me on, and it was because Phil and I were both questioning the reasons why are we going into Iraq. If you believe 9/11 and what they told us, there wasn't one Iraqi even involved in it. Iraq did nothing to us.
Well, that's right. There are still some neocon followers of what I call fake conservative news shows that still believe Saddam was the one behind the attack when Bush and Cheney admit he had nothing to do with it and actually fought against the Wahhabis based in Saudi Arabia known as Al-Qaeda.
Well, I don't know if you can ever get Dick Cheney to admit that and George Bush, but I know, that they still like to refer back and try to tie the two together all the time somehow.
There are a few clips where they've had to admit it. One time Cheney was on with Russert and had to admit it.
Oh, okay. okay. You probably watch more than I do because I'm living in Mexico now, and that's another subject that's interesting, Alex. This whole situation with immigration. I mean, I live down with all these brown-skinned people down there, and I don't know about you and where you stand on it, but I don't believe the United States needs to be East Berlin.
Well, we have a Larry King clip. John, you've got that clip, don't you? Okay, well, we're going to play that coming up in a little while. But last night you said, hey, Lou Dobbs, what are you so afraid of? I live down, in the middle of nowhere in Mexico, and these brown-skinned people are pretty nice.
They're very nice. I'll tell you, I have the time of my life down there. And, Alex, I live an hour from pavement and an hour from electricity.
Tell us about where you live.
Well, but trust me, I do have electricity. My house is completely solar. I'm off the grid, and I live off the sun.
No, but, I want to image your house in my mind. What's it look like? Where is it?
It's beautiful. Well, I don't want to get you too close because I like
Don't worry, I'm not going to come down there. I'm just saying I can picture you in this little jungle bungalow off the beach.
Well, trust me, it's not quite a jungle bungalow. It's 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths with a casita in the back, a 2.5-car garage, my own swimming pool, and 40 of my own palm trees.
Sounds awesome. And so
it's great.
So what, you just go out and scuba dive and surf all day?
I scuba dive. I hang with the surfers. We've got a whole group of expatriates down there, surfers, who they work up in the United States for 6 months, and they save their money, and then they go down and live in the arroyos on little campsites and surf all the time, and they're marvelous people.
No, believe me, every day I dream about moving off to some tropical paradise. So you certainly are living the life. And so you're just coming back to the U.S., I guess, because you're so sick of seeing it turn into a police state?
Well, I come back every year. I should make mention I live there 6 months, and then if you've ever been to Minnesota, I wouldn't wish a Minnesota winter on my worst enemy. Yeah, because they're brutal, and after living there my whole life. So I really live as the leaves are. If the leaves are out, I'm in Minnesota. If the leaves are gone, I'm in Mexico.
Well, this network, I'm based in Austin, but the network, Genesis Network, is based in Minneapolis, St. Paul, in a little area called Burnsville. I'm sure you know
it.
And,
know it well, South Minneapolis.
And I've been up there, and let me tell you, for a Texas boy, I can't handle it when you breathe, and it feels like your teeth are going to fall out.
Oh, believe me, you don't even have to be a Texas boy. You're a Minnesota boy, and you get the same reaction.
Let's go back to your first day as governor. You've just shocked the whole country, coming from nowhere in the polls to winning handily as the first major independent governor. I guess there have been one more before you in Minnesota history. You come into office and you tell the story of 20-plus CIA agents in your office.
Well, actually, the accurate part of this is I was the second independent governor. Let's give credit to Governor Angus King of Maine.
That's right.
Angus served 1 term ahead of me and did 2 terms in Maine. He was on his second term when I was doing my first. He just didn't get all the publicity that I got. But Angus proved invaluable to me because he had been there 4 years already and done that. And whenever we'd go to the National Governors Convention, on the second day out in Washington, all the Republican governors would meet in this building, all the Democratic governors would meet in this other building, and Angus and I would take a walk on Constitution Avenue and sit down on the park bench and have the independent governors meeting. But anyway, the CIA story did not happen on my first day. It was about 3 weeks into it, and I got this request, we'll call it with quotes around it, to the bowels of the Capitol, basically to be interrogated by 23 members of the CIA, of which, of course, they tried to say I was lying about it, but the CIA came out and admitted that it did happen.
In fact, I have NPR did an investigation of it in January of this year. CIA confirms Ventura meeting occurred. Also, the Minneapolis paper also confirmed it. And I have the quotes here. At first, they said, I don't recall any indication that the governor had a meeting with CIA agents. And then they went on to say, we don't meet with state officials. Then they added, now that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And then others implied you were lying, but then they had to admit it. And then it has the quotes by the CIA liaison officers saying, well, yes, we like to meet with state officials, but we don't like to talk about it.